Are we by their toilet? Okay, so in the winter when we feed hay to cows. So right now the cows are out grazing. They'll continue to graze on into the winter until they run out of grass. So our grass goes dormant in October. That's when it stops growing, but we'll still have a lot of it on the ground at that time. So we'll continue to rotate the cows on pasture, moving them every day on into the winter until we run out of grass, and then we'll feed hay. This year we did not start feeding hay until mid-January.
Oh, wow.
Now, when you feed hay, it's perfectly fine to feed hay to the cows on the pasture in the winter. The problem with feeding hay to the cows on the pasture in the winter is you lose a large part of the nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, the fertilizer, out of their urine and manure due to evaporation and runoff. The problem here is not frozen ground. The problem is dormant ground. The grass isn't growing. The organisms and microorganisms that metabolize nutrients, they're dormant. So fine, feed hay to the cows in the pasture, but if you put fertilizer on plants and soil that are dormant, they're not going to take in the nutrients. We don't like to lose nutrients here. We don't like to lose fertility. And we like to make our lives easier. So what we like to do when it's time to feed hay is we bring the cows off of pasture and into the barns for the specific purpose of collecting their urine and manure in what we call a carbonaceous diaper on the floor of the barn, so we can lock in those nutrients for the winter and hold them there until a later time in the spring or summer, and then spread it onto the field after the grass is coming out of dormancy. So how it works is, before the cows come in, the pigs won't be here. This will all be cleared out, and there won't be any bedding on the ground. So before the cows come in, what we do is we put down the first layer of their diaper, which is a layer of wood chips, carbonaceous diaper. Cows come in, we feed them hay from this hay pile into these wooden bunkers, or they'll eat out of here. So they eat hay, they poop, they pee, and they trample on the diaper. This section here will hold maybe 25, 30 cows-ish. We'll break this.
Just this little pen right here?
Yeah, and they will be able to go outside, but they cannot go out to the pasture.
Okay.
And we'll break this part of the barn up into multiple sections as well. And we have another barn out there that holds maybe 80 cows. We'll usually have about 200 cows here total in the winter doing this job. So, wood chips, cows come in, eat hay, poop, pee, and trample on the diaper. As soon as the diaper's a little bit wet, 4 days, 7 days, it just depends, we put another layer down. This time it's corn and wood chips. Corn is not for the cows, and if you don't already know what that's for, you probably do. But if you don't, we'll come back to that in just a minute. Corn, wood chips. Cows come in, eat hay, poop, pee, and trample on the diaper. As soon as the diaper's wet again, 4 days, 7 days, depends, we put down another layer. This time, wood chips. Cows come in, eat, poop, pee, and trample. As soon as it's wet again, we put another layer down, this time old or junky hay. And then we repeat the cycle. Corn, wood chips, next time wood chips, next time hay. Corn, wood chips, hay, repeat. Layer upon layer as long as the cows are in here for the winter. Now, cows are heavy creatures, so as they walk on this bedding, they push out all the oxygen, creating an anaerobic environment, and that corn in there ferments. Okay, so this goes on all winter long. Now in the spring, as soon as there's enough grass for the cows to eat, we put the cows out. Then we bring the pigs in. What are the pigs doing?
Looking for the corn.
Yeah. So the pigs can smell that corn that's been fermenting in here all winter, and they get busy digging and rooting for it, thereby introducing oxygen to what was an anaerobic poop cake, creating an aerobic composting system. We call it pigerating, aerating, but with pigs. So you just have to introduce oxygen to start the composting process, and we could stir this ourselves with a tractor, but we've got pigs, they're inside for the winter. They need something to do. They've got shovels on their noses, so we let them come in here to do this job for us. By the time they've eaten out all the corn, this is fully composted and ready to be spread onto the fields. So then we put the pigs out, then we come in with the front end loader, scoop up all this, put it in a manure spreader and spread it out there. So by this time it's late spring or early summer, and not only are we putting out there the urine and manure we save from the cows, we're also putting out there all this additional organic matter in the form of the wood chips and some junky hay. So we're getting more bang for our fertility buck.
Yeah.
This is the heart of the fertility program at Polyface, and the main way we've been able to go from 1% organic matter to 8% organic matter in just 60 years.
Oh,
Yeah, so the Salatins bought this farm in 1961, and at that time it was rocky, desolate, dusty, and depleted. Joel said he could walk around out here without touching grass because there were so many dirt patches and rocky outcroppings. He said there was about 0.5% to 1% organic matter in the soil, which is extremely depleted soil. They say healthy soil has 3 to 4% organic matter. Today we're at 8%, probably more. And we went from 1% to 8% in 60 years, which is much faster than if we just abandon the land and let nature take its course the way nature is today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Questions on this?
No.
These are on a pulley system, so we can raise them up as the bedding gets thicker.
In the winter?
With like
Yeah.
a centralized electric system, if you have a short or break, you're just having to search
Yeah.
too much for the problem. So we only electrify really where the animals are at any given time.
Sure.
Okay, pigs. All right, so we keep pigs in the forested or semi-forested parts of the farm only. We're gonna have to look up, when we go back, remind me, hopefully. I wanna see if like what Joel recommends on pounds per acre is in not solid bar beef. That other book we have. Polyface design. But anyway, we keep pigs in the forested or semi-forested parts of the farm only, enclosed with either a single strand or a double strand of electric fence wire, close to the ground. The top strand is for cows when they're in here. The bottom 2 strands are for pigs when they're in there. We do not breed pigs, we buy pigs, which we've already talked about. It's mainly a safety concern here for us. So we do not breed pigs, we buy them. First thing, they're little weaned pigs. First thing we do with them is put them in the barn in order to train them to electric fence. So pigs, you can't expect them to respect this if they don't know what it is. So what we'll do is we'll put them in an enclosure in the barn. We'll string up a fence across one end of their enclosure, a short one, because little pigs are short, and we'll put a little spring on the fence, a metal spring, so that the fence has some give. So that as they test it, it doesn't just break and you're having to come out and fix it every 10 minutes or something like that. So the spring lets it have a little bit of bounce. So as they test it, it doesn't.
How many times would you say they generally need to test it before they figure it out?
I don't know, but you want them in there like at least 2 weeks.
Okay. Makes sense.
You know, so that they're good and trained. Pigs, I find
smart.
pigs test the fence their whole lives.
Hmm.
Many a tour I come out here and somebody touches the fence. Cows don't do that unless it's on accident. Very rarely a cow will touch the fence on accident.
So cows don't really need trained on electric fencing?
They do need training.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
we train them as well. We'll put them in a barn. If we buy in young animals and they haven't been trained, we'll train them in the barn as well. And then when we put them out, we put them in a place where if they break their fence, they're not, you know, getting out to the world or, you know, some huge area. And then with cows, we try to put them with a mature cow, at least one,
Show them the ropes?
during the training process.
Yeah.
So yeah, pigs into the barn to be trained. Once they're good and trained, they come out into a paddock. Pigs stay in a paddock typically for however long it takes them to eat 2 tons of feed. So our pig groups are usually 35 to 50 in size. And they stay in a paddock for however long it takes them to eat 2 tons of feed. It usually takes 7 to 10 days, maximum of 10 days. Our paddock sizes vary. These are smaller paddocks, like I said. We just set these up for demonstration purposes. Our typical paddocks are about 1/2 acre in size for less forested, 2 to 4 acres in size for more forested.
Okay.
These paddocks, I'm just guessing, are maybe a 1/4 acre or a 1/3 acre in size for a smaller group of pigs.
And that feeder holds
That
2,000
feeder, I
pounds?
think, no, that's not a 2-ton feeder. That looks like a 1/2 ton or a 1 ton.
Okay.
6, 8, 10, 12. I don't know. There might be more than this. This is 12 pigs. I don't see any others. But anyway, our typical groups are 35 to 50 in size. Typical paddock size, 1/2 acre for less forested, 2 to 4 for more forested. Pigs stay in a paddock for however long. Oh, I said that to eat 2 tons of feed.
2
Now
tons of
during
feed.
this time, they do a disturbance to the land. The disturbance that they do is actually similar to a healthy forest fire. So forest fires are normal, natural parts of the forest ecosystem. They have many benefits, including helping prevent wildfires. So what a forest fire does is it deals with your underbrush, which is your fuel. If you have too much fuel and that ignites, it'll light all the trees on fire and everything in its way, and you've got a wildfire. But ideally, a forest fire deals with your underbrush. Forest fires put down fertility in the form of ash. Forest fires help kill bug infestations, and they wake up seeds. So some trees can't reproduce without the heat of a fire to open up the seeds, such as the sequoia out in California and other pine trees. So we can agree that a forest fire is a disturbance to the land, but forests come back healthier after. Pigs do a similar disturbance. So they deal with the underbrush, eat it, trample it, root it, whatever. They put down fertility in the form of urine and manure. They help with bug infestations, possibly because they're omnivores, so they eat bugs. And they aerate the soil, maybe helping seeds come up to germinate. So during this week to 2 weeks that 7 to 10 days that pigs are in the paddock, they do a healthy disturbance, but if you leave them too long, they'll go from disturbance to destruction. So that's why we keep pigs moving on a regular basis. Now, not only is an empty feeder a good timing mechanism for when it's time to move, it can also be used as incentive to help us get them to move, because pigs don't like to be told what to do. So on moving day, they're hungry because the feeder's empty. So we come out with the tractor, pick up the feeder, move it to the next paddock, fill it with feed. They can hear and smell that, and they're more easily convinced to move to the new spot. Next thing we do to help us get them to move is we use the physical barriers at the gate. If you come over here, see the wooden gate down there? There's one there and there's one there. Pigs can't see very well, so you can have an electric gate there between the paddocks, but when you open it up, they still don't want to go through because they can't. Since they can't see, they don't trust that you've actually opened the gate. With a wooden gate, a physical barrier, when that's open, ideally it's easier to get them to go through it because they can see it and they know it's open. Now, pig paddocks rest 3 to 6 months before we put pigs back. 3 months for a less forested paddock, 6 months for a more forested paddock. And that's an observe and see thing. Not like a hard and fast rule, but an observe and see rule. Questions?
No?
We typically butcher at 250 pounds, 9 months give or take, old. Our pigs usually get a little bit bigger than that, but that's our ideal weight.
Sure.
Not all on this farm. Enjoy your nap time, piggies.